and welcome, beloveds, to the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. Mumbi Seraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you are moving into living life truly on your own terms. We want to thank every single person that supports us on our Patreon accounts. We really wouldn't be able to do this show without your support for our team, etc., etc. And check out our new website, www.drmumbishow.com. It was put together by one of our, by one of our global Black Africa family. I'll be giving you more details about that. But there's a very sad story coming out of South Africa. A lot of you guys contacted me about this over the weekend. I literally was just like, this proves that South Africa is the weakest link in Africa and Ramaphosa is the weakest president in Africa, and it just confirms that he is so sold out, so brotherhood. And what I'm talking about is that the Oxford COVID-19 vaccine trials have started in South Africa. Now, the countries that were picked were South Africa and Brazil. We had actually initially thought that Kenya was going to be on that list. There was some word that some governor somewhere may have allegedly received money in a certain county. Let me not get into too many details about that. But we cried, we complained, we screamed, we shouted. And so Kenya seems to have been, I don't know, unless they're doing it secretly, because you can never trust these people, but Kenya seems to have been overlooked for South Africa. We're so grateful. But it looks like South Africa, Ramaphosa has sold you guys out, man. He sold you guys out, and it's all over. The propaganda of mainstream media is just blowing this into such a big thing. I was reading the Times, which is a newspaper out of South Africa, saying 8 South Africans entered South Africa's medical history books on Wednesday when they became the first citizens to take part in a global COVID-19 vaccine trial. So they're even trying to make people feel good. But you know what? Let me tell you, what we've seen, because I know a lot of people are panicking. We did see Bill and Melinda Gates coming out and saying that, the first people to receive the vaccine will be, African, after the first responders and the doctors will be the African Americans. No mention of when the Mzungus would get it. They actually... they're saying the aim of the trial is to find a vaccine, and they've been really advocating a lot and trying to say, Black people need to be part of the trials, Africans need to be part of the trials, otherwise it doesn't make sense. There's been so much propaganda on the BBCs and the CNNs of this world, and now South Africa. It's so sad. I was even reading, one guy was like, I was scared to take it, but I didn't know. Let me tell you something. Let me just take a quick side note. This is when I said, spiritually, guys are going to have to start doing some serious adulting because you've got all the information. For you who know, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. And what you're going to see is that, this isn't something I've wanted to address, but let's just say that just like all Black folk and king folk, all Africans aren't going to be the chosen, because you have to choose yourself. You have to now be willing to make some of those hard decisions and really adult yourself. Don't expect to be supervised or baby fed, and don't fall for the hype. Because yes, now they're rolling out the vaccines. You've seen, the gatekeeper of South Africa, Ramaphosa, has allowed them to come in. And also Brazil. Let's not forget, Brazil is also mainly people who look like you and me. So, it's it's literally 2 African nations, if we can say that, and 1 British nation, because the tests are also going on. So they said that, in South Africa, there's going to be 2,000 participants who would be divided into groups. The 8 who took it first were part of group 1, which is the smallest group. Others will also be added to this group. And in terms of what is happening now, this is a guy called Madi. He said, I won't... You see, I'm wondering if these guys got paid. Because, okay, there's this guy, Shabir Madi. He's a professor of vaccinology at Wits University. And he said, I won't lie, this has been keeping me up at night. It's the safety of this trial that is the most important thing, blah, blah, blah. And then he says, in terms of what is happening with the groups, we will be looking into the safety of the vaccine in terms of side effects and how well participants' bodies build an immune response to the vaccines. And, he said they would be randomly selected, and only the pharmacist and the administrator of the vaccine would know who received what and who is assigned to which group. I mean, at this point, beloveds, if you go ahead and take this vaccine, if you participate in a trial, then it's on you. It's really on you because, they say you can take the donkey to the river, but you can't make the donkey drink the water, and no offense to anyone. Like, seriously, I'm not calling anyone a donkey, but like, seriously, some of our people are so hard-necked. And for you who know, make sure you're getting the word out there to as many people as possible. Here in Kenya, people weren't even going to get tested. It was so hard for the government to get people to go out there and do, people were very reluctant to get tested. And it looks like the vaccine surpassed us. Hopefully, it overpassed us. Because I saw in a lot of the articles, they were saying, other countries in Africa that have that have the scalability to test the vaccine include Kenya, Ghana, I don't know which others. But we have to keep our voices up. We have to keep, shouting at what is wrong and letting our governments know that we won't have it because they do listen. And to all you South Africans, don't just sit by. Let your voices and opinions be heard. I can't believe Ramaphosa let his people down like this. That's just so heartbreaking. Anyway, until next time, tuko pamoja.
Wake up Africa, your time has come. Open up your eyes and see the sun. Open up your spirit. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up Africa.
Hello and welcome to Africa Watch on the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How are you doing? How's everything going? I pray that you're well in all your endeavors, in all your ways. I pray that you're truly living your best life and just living a life of purpose. And so much is happening across the African continent. So many revelations as well. Like a lot of stuff is being revealed of what used to happen 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago that are showing the truly ugly side of white supremacy. The ugly side of what the Caucasoid, Caucasoid race, really their intentions towards us as a people. And this is a shocking reminder that you cannot love your former oppressor. No, let me say it the other way, because a lot of us love our former oppressors, but your former oppressor can never really love you. Your former oppressor can never really appreciate you. There's a show I did the other day, and I was talking about how Angola is economically colonizing Portugal. And one of the things that we did, when I was doing my research, there's this Portuguese man who was like, it's strange because it's like your housemaid coming and buying your house. That's how they see us. That's the mentality. Slave, indentured servant, poor. That's the mentality, and that's the narrative they want us to believe about ourselves. But what has happened now is that, recently there was this, there's a lot of different, film festivals, and Sundance is one of the most well-known or most renowned, and it started recently in Utah. By the way, it was started by Robert Redford. Those are stories for other days. But there was a very shocking documentary by Alexander Jones, and it actually premiered at Sundance. And what it showed is that allegedly there's a ex-mercenary has confessed that there's a South African paramilitary group that tried to spread AIDS by infecting it's the black people of South Africa. And it talks about how, this mercenary group, there was this member, and he was called Maxwell, and he basically had these intentions of eliminating all black people in South Africa. And what he used to say is that, the post-AIDS world, the post-AIDS South Africa would be a one-man, one-vote, light-skinned vote, if you know what I mean, Caucasian vote. And he had really hoped that this plague would wipe out all the black South Africans. So what he did is he actually went into different African neighborhoods around Johannesburg, and he ran clinics in mostly poor areas where there were a lot of black people, and he claimed to be a doctor. So this gave him a great opportunity, for sinister experimentation. Now, what happened is that the people who did this documentary, they actually got a hold of his manuscripts and his notes and some of his crazy ideas, and then they spent years kind of, capturing interviews and verifying and corroborating the information before they released this documentary. And the whole Keith Maxwell, that's his name. He just had this, apocalyptic obsession with HIV/AIDS. That's what they're calling it. And he talked a lot about how they needed, to decimate black population so that they could cement the Caucasian rule and bring back conservative religious mores. I love the way they also bring religion in. You're trying to eliminate a people and then you're bringing religion into it. It's crazy. And one of his things that he said is like, what's easier? What's an easier way to get to a guinea pig than when you live in an apartheid system? And he said, when the reason he was able to open so many clinics across Johannesburg is because, according to him, black people had no rights and they needed medical treatment. So when they saw a white philanthropist coming in and saying, I'll open up these clinics and I'll treat you, they actually saw it as a savior situation. This whole white savior complex. It's crazy.